American literature for the PG students. The American short story, Edgar Allen Poe. Introduction. We will discuss how the short story developed a significant art form in America. In the last unit, we learned about the growth of American novel. Another form of a prose fiction is the short story. One important difference between the novel and the short story is the length. A story which is short enough to be read it about half an hour may be called a short story. This limit on length makes the writer achieve his aims with greater concentration. That is, every small detail in the story has to contribute to a certain unique or single effect. Because space is limited, the number of characters is small, their development cannot be elaborate, and description of the setting has to be brief. A significant incident is chosen to reveal the character of the protagonist to provide an insight. Types of the short story. Perhaps the short story as a literary form is an old as a human race. Stories were told orally long before writing was invented. Our own literature has the Jataka, Jataka tales and the Panchatantra. The Arabian Nights is another collection of stories. There are many types of short stories. There are those writers who strive for unity of effect in a story as used by Poe. There are stories which surprise ending like an O Hindi stories. Then there are stories which present a slice of life like a Anthony Chekhov. There are stories of incident where the course and final outcome of events is important. An example of this pose, the gold bug. Some of these may also be called detective stories. Then are stories of the character which are concerned with the depiction of character, that is a person's state of mind, motivation and moral qualities. Chekhov's The Kiss is an example of this type. The American short story. It is sometimes said that the short story was invented by the Americans and that it is a uniquely American literary form. Frank O. Connor said that is America's national art of form. There is some justification for this claim. The short story, strictly so called, began only in the early 19th century. Its development was made possible due to variety of literary and cultural factors which prevailed then. These factors were more evident in early 19th century America than in Europe. The factors which contributed to the rise of the American short story are the absence of a rich and complex social structure. Henry James called this is the thinness of American life. The intense and isolated life of Americans could be better expressed through the short story than through the long novel. Secondly, the American writers were influenced by the currents of Romanticism sweeping over Europe. A Walton Lidge argues that this collision of local and fragmented social experiences with a cosmopolitan artistic vision proved ideal for the growth of the short story. Washington Irving. The modern short story is a product of a variety of the influence such as the 18th century essay, the traditional tale, the sketch in painting which required concentration and the unity of effect demanded by romanticism. Washington Irving was able to fuse all these devices, diverse elements. He liked the sharpness and the fictitious narrator of this periodical essay. He was influenced by the ballad and other folk forms. He liked the Gothic tale, which used a romantic setting and stretched an emotional atmosphere. Irving was more interested in the manner of telling than the story. His favorite form of short fiction is the sketch, which gave him both a unity of skin, picturesqueness, and unity of emotion. He lacked the skill of psychological analysis. Nathaniel Hawthorne. If Irving was concerned with the external reality, Nathaniel Hawthorne probed the dark recesses of the mind, the spiritual essence of his character. The inner quality is revealed through Epiphanies, sudden flashes of illumination. Hawthorne's imagination is colored by the Calvinistic notions of innate depravity and original sin. Melville called the power of the blackness. Stories deal with guilty and its expiation. Thus, he set a pattern for the dark strain in American fiction, which Poe and Melville followed. Poe's contribution to the short story. In the development of the American short story, Edgar Allan Poe has a very important role. He was a theoretician, critic, and practitioner of the short story. He was also an innovator. Poe's review of Hawthorne's Twice Told Tales in 1842 is a seminal piece of criticism of the genre of short fiction. It is there that Poe speaks of the unity of effects or impression. In a Poe's view, an accomplished artistic decide first the unique effect he wants to produce and then invents incidents which, when combined, produce and predeterminated effect, not a single word which does not contribute to this pre-established design should be included in the story. Poe argues that the tale is superior even the poem, while rhythm, while rhythm, while rhythm might help a poem in increasing beauty, it is a mighty hinder the presence of the truth. Truth is often the main aim of the tale. For instance, the tales of the retociation, retaliation, or detective stories aim at establishing the truth. The possibilities of the tale are far greater than those of a poem. The writer of the prose tale, in short, may bring to his theme a vast variety of the modes of inflections of the thoughts and expression. Recitative, for example, the sarcastic or the humorous, which are not only antagonistic to the nature of the poem, but absolutely forbidden by once of its a peculiar and indefensible adjuncts. adjuncts. We allude, of course, to rhythm. Twice Told tells a review. In this review, as in this later essay, Philosophy of Composition, he advocates the romantic aesthetic for the short story, therefore, his emphasis is on the unity of impression. The sketches of Irving or the tales of the Hawthorne and others are different from Poe's tales. Poe gives a psychological unity in the place of the early unity of action. He thinks that the short story combines truth or reason of prose and the beauty of rhythm of poetry. Poe's contributions to literature. Poe's contribution contributor types of the Poe stories. Poe's short stories are classified under the heads. The first one, Grotesques of 1830s, Mad Ginger Stein. The second, Arabesque Tales of 1838-44, Ligeia. Third, Retiosinative Detective Tales of 1840s. Third, the Purloniad letter. Post explained that the terms grotesque and arabesque are fair descriptions of the stories. Grotesque is referred to the absurd quality. Arabesque means Arabian, like in the Arabian Nights. Arabesque may refer to skillful design or ornament, as a Walton Lidge says. We may take the epithet arabesque as a powerful metaphor of Edgar Allen Poe's contribution to the development of the short story is a demonstration in the theory and in practice that, that within the narrow scope of the traditional tale an emerging number of the diverse elements can be fused into psychological and social unity through poetic suggestion.